Very good morning, all of you. Uh, as a country, we are at a cusp. As a group, we are at a cusp. After this, there is lunch as well. So a lot of things, taking us to an inflection point. And the idea behind any inflection point is that you want to do very well from that inflection point onwards. So your expectation is that something nice or strong will come out at the end. So as a country, as a economy, if we are at an inflection point, the question is that what do we expect out of it? How well prepared we need to be able to get the best out of the all positive things that are floating now for us, in and around the country. So I think we have to go and kind of try to figure out what are the things which are most important. But before that, I would request my panel to go ahead and introduce themselves, a little bit about yourself and about your organization, so then it'll be easier for everybody to relate what we are going to talk and cover.
Hi, hello. Hi all. I am Shashank and I am the co-founder of Matsyaveda Herbals. So we are basically into, manufacturing of Ayurvedic products and herbal products. We manufacture, we market under our own brand Matsyaveda. And we also do private labeling for a lot of brands, both in the domestic market and in the international market. And this is not my background though. I have studied computer science. I was based out of Los Angeles and San Francisco for almost a decade. Moved back to India, and I feel that this decade belongs to India, and we really need to contribute to this. Thank you.
Excellent.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Shefali Anurag. I have sort of been in the space of e-commerce products since the beginning of e-commerce. You could say 2012, all the way up to my recent few gigs. My first gig was at a company that became the Silicon Valley's first exit in India called ZipDial by Twitter. And then I eventually moved on to Amazon, Pomelo, Agoda, etc. Between India and Thailand. I think it was at the crux of 2019, and we were just discussing this with Dr. Anurag as well, where I lost my mom and wanted to do something purposeful. And that's kind of when Coto very magically came into my life through my CEO Tarun. And we just wanted to build for impact. We wanted to build to make a difference in every human's life that we touched. So Coto is the world's first fully integrated emotional wellness app. And I urge you to check it out because we've seen, a lot of growth over the last 1 year. We work in a multimodal format, so anywhere from tarot card readings to therapy, right? And I'll tell you more about it during the panel, but I'm very excited to share this space with you.
Morning, everyone. My name is Vipul Gupta. I founded a Requel 8 years back, and it was inspired by my own journey of hair loss, which began when I was studying at Shriram College of Commerce, Delhi University back in 2002 to 2005. And Requel is a short for restoring equilibrium. And I really wanted to restore that equilibrium of trust I lost as a consumer of personal care products, because most of the products that I used ended up making very tall claims, and nothing really worked for me. And I thought that, so I made the brand for myself and people like me, and it's been a great journey so far in the last 8 years. Personally, I have great interest in understanding people mindsets, and that's what I love to even speak about. Yeah, thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Arune Chellaram. I'm one of the directors of Featherlite Furniture based in Bangalore. Unlike everyone else here, we're not really a startup at this point. We're 6 years old now. I joined the business about 8 to 9 years ago, and I look after manufacturing and operations and expansion plans. So over the last 2 years, I've been looking after our new factories and setting up new operations.
Hi everyone, absolutely thrilled to be a part of this event today. In fact, I want to thank Kamal, who was also part of the jury in the beginning, for making some of us eligible for being here. I want to first breathe in, breathe out that this is happening, this is real. Sometimes we don't give too much importance to small dreams coming true over a period of time. So I'm sure a lot of you are winners also here. Congratulations to all of you and some of us here on the panel for making it through. I'm Debojit. I'm the founder and CEO for a company called Cracked, which is in the education space, in the upskilling space. I'm originally from Bengal, born and brought up there, and then unfortunately an engineer. I can explain later maybe why unfortunately. And then also an MBA like a lot of other people in our country. But thankfully I found my calling a little late, I feel, but still a lot of time left when I decided to pursue my passion in education. And right now, what we do is we work with graduates in tier 2, 3, 4 cities and try and give them great job ready courses and eventually help them land a job. We use a lot of AI and tech, and maybe during our conversation, we'll take it forward. But thank you very much for having me.
Thanks. I think it had been great knowing all of you earlier in the jury rounds also, and now sitting and telling what had gone into making these startups. And these are so many personal stories. So it is really heartening to see that as as a country, as countrymen, we are able to convert what gaps we see into real opportunities and create employment and probably a global brand for ourselves. So I think that's really and truly empowering to everybody who's seeing this here or later on the web channels. When we talk about next decade of innovation, really a lot has happened already in the last 10 years, I would say. We have gone through so much, so many technologies have come, so many sectors had been fantastic. Fintech had done very well. Maybe it has peaked, maybe it is still not peaked, all then you have other areas in which we have done. EdTech also has done pretty well in the last 10 years. Consumer goods also have done very well. So how and where you think that, are we at an inflection point, or inflection point is still some distance? First of all, how do you think this is important? Are we at a cusp, really, is the question. And if we are at a cusp, which industries do you see coming and opening up the gates? And I would like each of you to also reflect on that to begin with.
We were talking earlier, and it was quite incredible to see everybody's journey here in the panel. And I'm sure every one of you has had quite a journey, right, to this point. And I think one thing that all of us went through as humans was the pandemic. And Shashank will probably talk a little bit more about his experience with that. But our experience at Coto was everybody was challenged physically and mentally, right? Because we were constricted, life was completely upside down. We were not with the people we loved. We were maybe locked in countries or homes, etc. And I think that created some amount of looking inwards, right? And to your point, Dr. Kamal, I feel innovation really comes in waves, right? So we've had a fintech wave, we've had delivery apps wave, we've had ride hailing, and we've grown up in those waves and we've seen that's made our life better. But I believe the next wave really is tech, faith tech, health tech, a lot of what all of us are working on as well. And I'm quite excited to see where that goes for the world, really.
So, looking forward, while I believe sectors like EV, AI, genomics are going to lead the next wave of innovation, but I also strongly believe that, there are some traditional sectors in our Indian society that are also going to grow exponentially. I come from an Ayurveda background, especially post-pandemic, we have seen exponential growth. There were a lot of businesses that were shutting down during pandemic. We were one of the businesses that, was growing both in the international market and in the domestic market. And to support this, there have been a lot of push from the government as well in this sector. We have seen almost 4,000 CR of investment going into Ayush this year itself, as opposed to, which is almost a 13% increase as compared to the last year. Then, we have WHO setting up traditional medicine center in Gujarat, Jamnagar, which is actively boosting, the relevance of Ayurveda in the international market. So I think we really have to focus on our traditional sectors as well. We believe that is going to grow strong. And yeah.
Thanks, Shashank. Vipul and others, if you could opine on this.
Dr. Kamal, to answer your question, I think we are just at the beginning of innovation in the country. The base in our country is so huge that what we really need to focus on is penetration. Look what Geo did to telecom. Look what internet has done. So innovation sometimes doesn't really need to be in the technology. It also needs to be in the way we distribute. So I think there is so much scope there, coming from MySpace, beauty, personal care. There is so much to catch up with global per capita consumption levels, and I believe that is happening so much across sectors, right? So my view is that there is so much to penetrate, and to penetrate we really need to innovate, and we are just getting started. It's I would say not even started.
So basically you are saying that we are at a local inflection point, not really at a global inflection point.
Not
truly.
at all.
So,
Not
absolutely.
at all. It's we are 1/6 of the global population.
Yeah.
So many use cases to solve for. At when we speak at such forums, it's mostly metros, tier 1, but look at the such a larger base living in tier 2, 3 and villages of our countries, and that's where reaching out to those, helping those, being useful to those people is where innovation should come in.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, as a group, I think if we think in that direction and are able to influence other groups also, it will cascade. It can just be you can be setting a chain reaction which is of a great societal value. So totally agree with you.
Absolutely, and it is we are beginning to see, we are already seeing that happening, and some of the players are setting some great examples. Yeah, look at what quick commerce has done. At the speed at which it is spreading to every nook and corner of the country.
Yeah.
It is a tremendous useful service, not just for brands but for the end customer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Arun and Debojit.
I think Shashank touched on this. I think the traditional industries now also need a bit of a kick to modernize. So again, I'm from a manufacturing background. So bringing in new technology, sending product out, not just services from the country, is important. And our manufacturing infrastructure has the ability to be, on par with China, on par with the biggest global players. But we need to invest in that, learn to not fear things like AI coming in and help modernize our process, bringing things to the 21st century. With a lot of manufacturing in India, a lot of product in India is still made in the old way, because there's a fear of, we have the labor, we won't be able to use that, it's cheaper. But the thing is, you can upskill your labor, you can upskill the people, you can make their lives easier and improve your processes and still put out better product.
No, that's a good point actually, because many times, if you recall, when we would have studied, or maybe at least my generation would have studied, population was a big bane. It was written among the top 3 problems which the country has. And now, a couple of decades later or 3 decades later, you say that actually that's the opportunity. And the entire globe is looking towards you because you have a significant mass which can consume all of global produce. So you're right. So even if you have a labor, advantage, how can you get more out of it? And even if it comes at a cost tomorrow, how can you upskill it to get still greater value out of it? So fantastic point.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's sort of what I think a lot of manufacturing companies are looking at today. And the concept of labor is inexpensive and freely available has to go away, and we need to upskill our people as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we've already said what I was kind of going to refer to. Initially, you spoke about the last decade being very heavy on e-commerce, D2C,
Yeah.
and quick commerce also now kind of picking up really well. I kind of feel that we are ready for a global inflection point in terms of innovation also. One of the biggest levers in that is our population itself. I think converting our population into infrastructure rather than a vein, let's say, that was there a decade back is a big shift that we can do in the way we are looking at things. I manage an education company which is exactly into upskilling people for job readiness. And when I say job readiness, I think Shefali spoke about the other sectors like health tech, climate tech, and multiple other sunrise sectors coming up in the future. All across the globe, they'll need millions of people. And where can they get it from? From a country which has 1/6 of the population of the globe. There's no better place to get it from. What we need to do is realize the kind of limitations that those kids in the tier 2, 3, 4 cities have. I am from Kharagpur, where outside the IIT and a very long railway platform, there is nothing else. And even in that city, the exposure to education, even basic communication, is very weak. And it gets worse and worse when we go into the more interiors. And now we can sit here and say that, okay, we want to prepare you for, let's say, a new green organization in the future, but first solve their basic problems, then get them to a stage where they're ready for upskilling, and then eventually the world is a place of
Go
opportunities
playground.
after
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
It's
You wanted to
massive.
react to something.
I had
Yeah.
a point actually. So I've been traveling a lot since I was 6 months old, pretty much. And you know what's been interesting? And while all of you have incredible points about the population, and we're just, we're known for being a smart population, we're tech first, we adapt to things incredibly well. We build tech for the world, even when we're not in India, right? But what's been interesting is now when I meet non-Indian friends, or when I meet people that are not of South Asian descent, they are looking to us also for cultural references. And just look at yoga and Buddhism and haldi doodh, which is called golden milk. Like, we've exported our culture without even knowing how powerful it is. And even if you look at pop culture, right, Indian actors are taking the front stage. There's representation at a global level, which is making us very relevant as a country. And so, to your point, Dr. Kamal, I think on the global scale, we're being looked at as a soft power, not just a large population. We're also being looked at as tech leaders because, I mean, look at the CEOs, right, of the largest tech companies. They are all from India, right? They're not just of Indian ethnicity. And we're leading without knowing we're leading. And I think the moment we know that we're leading, that's it. We're unstoppable, right? One more point I wanted to bring up was the difference between China and India, and where we have a really good opportunity. Chinese are very good with systems thinking, right? So they're able to pick up a problem and test every potential way to solve it. And so they don't refer to anybody as okay, they are doing it right. It's always, what do we need to do to solve this problem? Where India has a massive hand and power in innovation is design thinking. If we are able to apply our design minds with a system mindset, that's it. We've cracked the code, right? I mean, why is France famous for luxury? Because they are great storytellers. They don't produce there. A lot of the leather comes from India, including Italy, right? So yeah, we need to know how powerful we are, and I think then we're unstoppable as a culture, as a country.
Sure, absolutely. You spoke about China, and one thing which really stands out many a times is the intelligence that we bring and the intelligence that we have as a country. The intelligence is not really at a military level or at certain kind of macroeconomic level. Many times, as a business, also, having studied at Ahmedabad, there was a very interesting way. We studied cases. It was a case study method. And in that case study method, you will have cases about all kinds of situations which can exist in the world. So if you had like 500 sessions during your 2 years, you'd be going through 500 cases to understand those situations. And at the end of each of the case, there was a line which was called CCCF. And if there are some IMA folks sitting here, they will know CCCF meant conceptual clarity and contextual familiarity. So when we talk about contextual familiarity, the essence is that we are talking and laying a lot of emphasis on context. So ability to know context, whether it is a local context or global context, and layering your product or service according to that, it has a huge, impact and bearing. Now with AI coming in, any context of any part of the globe for any kind of service or product is actually available to you. You don't need to go local to figure out what they value or what is valuable. So that means technology, AI, or other things, have come a long way in being able to read from remote what is happening or what is, required. So my question now back to you is, with a long build-up, that how are you going, because one thing is to talk about what others can do, and the other thing is to be able to implement those things in our own world, in our own ventures and parts. So what innovations, what technologies or integrations that you plan to do or would like to do in your own spaces to make yourself not only a domestic force, a local force, but become a absolutely global force? Is there anything that stops you from doing that? Is there something that really helps you do that? If you can share your experience quickly on this is a long one, but just if you could be quick on that, it'll be helpful. Thank you.
Can I start?
Please go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So I loved your question actually. It took me to thought. CCAF is something I would want to study also maybe after this session. I'm in the education space, and I think mostly education institutions, the good ones in our country, have followed a method of rejection than a method of selection. And you've gone to, let's say, I'm Ahmedabad, like you mentioned, it's mostly with all other institutions. So our first challenge was, if I have to give jobs to 500 students and 50,000 are applying, how do I innovate to make it more a process of selection than rejection? And that's where AI played a fantastic role in the past 1 year or so, where we have been able to customize our process of selection in a way that AI would give very, very detailed feedback to the candidate to say, this is why you failed. Work on these things over the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month, and come back. And maybe you would find a great suitability for you. Feedback is something which is again very much lacking in the way preparation happens. So that's where the first level of innovation started. Now, of course, a lot of AI, VR has come in the way we teach. We want to make whatever they're going to finally work in as a muscle memory during the course, which basically means practice it so many times with the help of tech, with the help of digital practice, that once you join the job, it feels that I've done this 100 times before.
So Debojit, very, very crisply now, that in next 5 years, what are you going to do which is going to make your help, go global actually?
I think there's a lot of demand for trained workforce across the globe and across sectors. And we are already in talks with a few European countries where they're looking to start collaboration with us. And the demand is also coming where the training happens in our country. And then they eventually move on to these spaces. So the demand already exists. It's about the decision on how fast we move there, but definitely in the radar in the next 3 to 4 years.
So over to you. Shashank, you would like to say anything?
Yeah. So, I wanted to, I'll share a personal experience that, we are dealing right now with multiple clientele in the UK market and the US market. 2 years back in time, they said to us, and I'm talking about the same client, they said that, you supply the raw material to us in the US and we will manufacture the finished product because we don't trust the quality control, the hygiene check and the safety checks in your country. I'm like, okay, we will ship you the raw material. We ship the raw material to them. They build the finished product out there. They did the capsuling, the bottling, and the labeling, and put the made in USA label, and started selling out there. Today, uh, as we speak, I am in conversation with those clients. They said, why don't you manufacture for us in India? Because it's much cheaper out there. And, so we started working on this about 6 months ago, and we got the US FDA registration done. So it took us about a year and a half. Now, we are a US FDA registered facility based out of New Delhi. And they said, okay, why did you guys ship 5 lakh units? Because we have partnered with Walgreens, CVS Pharmacy. So, I think it's just great.
Amazing,
We really need to invest in our tradition, in manufacturing, for sure.
No, that's a great story actually. And how now it's in your hand. How do you kind of
Right.
build it?
Now, we started really small. We started with, those semi-automatic, I would say, manual capsule filling machine like 5 years ago. Now we have a machine that, does 90,000 capsules an hour. So we are also ramping up our manufacturing. We are also, getting all the certifications in place. And government is helping us a lot in getting these certifications. Government have set up these NABL labs across India. And these labs are, are acceptable. The results of these labs and the reports of these labs are acceptable by our foreign clientele.
Yeah. So Vipul, your business, in a way is closer to what Shashank has been doing from a, consumer goods standpoint. How would you want to react to this, or anything that you are doing which is also on the path of, taking you on the global dream? Maybe if you have one, or you think that's for later.
Not in the immediate future, but yes, going forward, definitely looking at expanding, taking the brand to global markets. And for that, you spoke about collaborations. If required, then why not collaborate with, let's say, if I want to take my brand to USA or Japan or Australia, why not collaborate with manufacturing partners there or service providers, any sort of vendors there to take it global. A brand built from India, collaborating not just with Indian service providers, but global service providers to take it global. I'm absolutely open to that, and in fact, looking at global expansion from that lens.
Oh, absolutely. So tie-ups and collaboration are one of the most powerful way to make yourself available to a market quickly and make again yourself very relevant. So I think that's a fantastic choice to enable yourself or act as a catalyst in your journey. Definitely. Shefali.
I think for us, it's a bit of serendipity because we were already growing very fast in India, given that we're a tech company, we're not rooted, physically anywhere. But what was, I guess, kind of serendipitous was the Indian diaspora is everywhere, right? And the problems that we as Indians have as a culture, as people, is very contextual. So we got some traction in Canada out of the blue from the Sikh population. And, we noticed a lot of cores showing up on our app as customers organically. Then we saw some in US. And so now obviously much, much bigger. But this was such an exciting thing to find because we were able to provide solutions that were contextual. Things like arranged marriage and dealing with in-laws. And, there's just so many layers to being an Indian that you might not find at a therapist in Canada, or in the US. So we are already way ahead, I guess, on our vision for the future globally, and we're making good strides. Maybe in 6-7 months we can have this conversation again. And
So where do you see yourself, let's say 5 years down the line? So what would make you a absolutely global brand, which everybody knows?
I think, we want to be a holistic company. We don't just want to provide, let's say, 1 or 2 modalities. We already provide 20 plus, right? We learn from the customer every single day. Like when you talk about innovation, our features, they get planned based on customer behavior and they're out the next day because we're so agile, we're so in-house. And so 5 years down the line, we will probably be a very largely loved app and a home name. While people say Google it, they might say Coto it. That's the dream. And, we believe that's a high possibility across the world, not just in India, because we want to take East intelligence, which is our intelligence, to the West. And we believe we're the best people to do that.
So I think great points in terms of right from collaborations on and some of the journey which some of the organizations have already started. It's not very easy to define 5 years down the line, but the reason why we are invoking that is that if we do not bring that thinking in our own planning and our own ecosystems, it's very difficult to expect anybody else to do that. And can we lead by examples, because you have all the wherewithal, all the decision making at your end to be able to make your brands as truly global brands. So I think there's a lot of expectation also while I say that, that, there is a lot given the backgrounds that you all have. I think that's something which India and the society can really, really gain from. Going back to the point that I was saying, that intelligence, reading what the market needs. And like I said that, and I started with the point of China, and it has kind of ear close to the ground. It knows when we have festivals here or anywhere in the world, anybody has any festival of any kind, there are products which can make their way from China all the way there. So that means they have sorted that part really, really nicely, and it doesn't happen without collaboration and really use of that technology. So I think your answers were, I think, very much in line to be able to let people think in that direction, that this is really required. Now, last point, from, because we'll be wrapping up shortly now. What would be, because there are a lot of new people, there are people aspiring to develop their businesses. They would like to, have something which they would want to see the day of the light, but it is in their minds, they have not really actualized it. And like we are taking the next decade of innovation, and there's something, which could be globally again relevant, scalable. Is there any advice that you want to give that, this is the sector or this is the area that one may focus on and that can really cascade or make them achieve that faster? I mean, one thing is to achieve it and another thing is to achieve it quick. So is there, but at the same time, somebody might come back and say there's nothing quick, everything has to be learned the hard way. But is it really important to learn the hard way in today's world, or is there something you can advise to them which can make them go quick and rampant on that path?
Can I go first? So, two things. First one, I strongly feel that businesses are the greatest impact creators in social life. So they are the biggest NGOs, I would call that. And because a business starts always to solve a certain problem, and then it becomes, and it should be the moral responsibility and duty of a business to really expand, serve more and more customers. So my advice to anybody looking to start up is look it from a serving lens than chasing certain vanity metrics or looking at how will I scale this. It is every business's moral duty and responsibility to scale the business because they are making an impact, they're changing lives. Second is, we are, and thankfully so, we are entering an era in our own country where so many new brands, services, products are coming up, solving something very niche, something for someone very specific. So, as against very mass market brands, which would, cut to serve more and more people, try to solve something for someone very specific. So, and the scale will follow because all you need to do is solve it for a handful of people and then you'll automatically, those people will find more people like them for you.
Debojit, Arun, any
Yeah.
quick views on that?
Yeah, my view on this is that we should learn to fail fast. If we don't even get out of bed and try because of fear of failure, it's not going to happen. So there are tons of ideas, tons of changes that you incorporate in your startups that may not work. But the worst decision you can make is to not make a decision. And I think that's something that a lot of Indian founders, Indian companies need to get over, the fear of what if it goes wrong.
Yeah, fantastic point. Yeah.
Yeah, I think as founders, we have a lot of responsibility also to take the country to the next level in the next 10 years. And keeping our eyes and ears to the ground will be very critical during this time. I think one of the things that I would want to advise is we get lost in a lot of operational hassle and forget to understand what's happening outside that can actually act as levers to take our business 10x, 20x. And therefore, I agree with your statement. We may not need so much time anymore to reach where others might have taken 15 years, 20 years. It can happen over 2-3 years. But there is no replacement for hard work, persistence, and being very to the ground while
Definitely.
driving the company internally.
Definitely. Basically, you are saying become smart still, but
Yes.
keep doing the hard work in any case, and don't fear the failures. Yeah. Anything you want to add quickly on
I'm
this?
going to quickly just say one thing. And you are Dr. Data pretty much. I was reading your profile as well. It's very impressive. But to create anything, and that's even a small shop all the way to a massive tech business that's worth billions, you have to trust the data, but you also have to trust your intuition, right? And both are equally important. And that's really because if your intuition is telling you something, it's possible that there's a reason for it, a spiritual reason for it, right? So remembering that, backing it with data is essential if you want to build anything. And that's not just a startup, right? It's also in life, a project, a marriage, whatever really, any partnership, any collaboration. Use both. Both are important.
So, I strongly suggest people to get into manufacturing. Look at, what's going on today. Donald Trump, they're trying to bring manufacturing back into the country because they're so highly dependent on other countries like China, India. And, a lot of people, we got into manufacturing. We started manufacturing of Ayurvedic products without having any background into manufacturing. We were told that why don't you get a third-party manufacturer, and you will save the time dealing with the bureaucracy, getting the licenses, certifications, and so on. But the idea was no, we want to stick to the manufacturing so that we can control the quality, and we never wanted to be dependent on any third party to manufacture our products. So I think if you can just invest time, money, energy into manufacturing if possible. Yeah.
I think great points, and I just loved listening to all of you because it's always nice when young entrepreneurs they are trying to take an idea forward and guiding others also how to do it in the best possible way. I loved I can speak for another half an hour, 1 hour with you, but I think we have to respect the time here. If we'll just open it for 1 or 2 questions.
One question, you only have a minute for that.
Yeah, we have only a minute for
मेरी
that.
नजरें आप पे और उन सब की मेरे पे हैं.
Yeah.
We have so yes. Can you get a mic for him, please? So मेरी request है mic actually ताकि बाकी सब भी सुन पाए. So can you quickly get a mic for sir? Thank you.
Question is clear. Thank you so much for asking. I hope the audience also heard the question. Yeah, that's what I was doing. Can startups also use AI to use the method of selection rather than method of rejection while they're selecting participants? Great question. The problem is paucity of time. There are very few people sitting on top who are doing, let's say, the selections, whether it's an institute or an organization or a startup. What tech does is it multiplies time for all of us because it can keep replicating the same task again and again. In fact, in a generative way, that it becomes better and better over time. So therefore, instead of human interviews, let's say, for selection, if there are AI interviews happening at the time of selection, not only will you be exposed to a lot of situations and questions, you will also get very high constructive feedback for the next time, when you can even get better and then come back maybe to the same organization or a different organization. Also, we want to cover 5-6 parameters at the time of selection, and AI will not forget any parameter while asking, and human might miss. And therefore, it's a comprehensive evaluation also that happens with the help of tech as compared to a human intervention to avoid biases. So what we are doing as an institute, any organization can do as a startup also.
Thanks, Debojit. So I think that's it. Thanks so much for listening in, and thanks so much to the panel to be